When you look at this matchup between the Steelers and the Ravens, who do you have more faith in and why?
So both teams have been struggling lately. Outside of Pittsburgh's big win last week against the Browns, where TJ Watt had a damn near historic game with 4 sacks. He is 1 sack away from tying Michael Strahan's all time leading sack record for a single season with 22 and a half. He'll probably break it just because of the extra game. So I don't know. But then again, Kyle and I were actually talking about it. TJ Watt has only played 12 full NFL games this year between missing a few and leaving some early with injury. So technically, he may have gotten it in the 17th game if he does actually complete the record and or break it. But he did not play a full season, which is scary in and of itself. But again, back to the game at hand. I'm going with Pittsburgh if Lamar doesn't play. Lamar has been resting and been healing on that bone bruise for the last 3 weeks or so. God willing, he'll be fresh if he does play. If not, I don't see Pittsburgh losing this game knowing everything that's on the line. Najee Harris is playing great football. Obviously, Pittsburgh's defense has been playing exponential the last week because the week before that, they got embarrassed by Kansas City by like 30. So can't say for the past couple of weeks. But I just think there's more on the line for Ben to go out with a bang, obviously, in his final season. Not that I think that Pittsburgh's going to win a game in the playoffs or anything, but if I had to put money on it, I think Deontay Johnson's going to have a big game. Najee Harris, that Baltimore defense is more than suspect. They have not been able to stop a common cold. They got blown out by Joe Burrow by 80 points this year, and they're on a 5-game skid. So if Tyler Huntley plays, it could be, an interesting game because he's played well for them as his backup. But if Lamar plays, I think he gives them a little bit more of a chance. So I got them winning no matter what. And by them, I mean Pittsburgh. If Lamar plays, maybe it's about a 3-point game, maybe a 7-point game. If Huntley plays, maybe about a 10, 13 points in terms of total spread. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take the opposite on this one. I'm going to take Baltimore in this one. And I'm going to take the assumption that Lamar Jackson is going to play. Now, how viable he's going to be, I'm not 100% sure. Because I imagine that bone bruise is kind of, pretty difficult to deal with. And he may only be at 85, 90%, but I think he would be a better option than Tyler Huntley, despite the fact that I think Tyler Huntley has done a pretty solid job in that backup role while Lamar has been dealing with this injury of his. Now, the reason why I'm picking the Ravens is because they have home field in this game. And when I look at the game that they played last week against the Rams, that was a game that was entirely in their control up until the fourth quarter. And then they gave up 13 points in that fourth quarter against LA and then ended up losing the game by 1 point. But that was pretty impressive for Baltimore to be able to hold a high powered offense like the Rams to only 20 points and basically, keeping it to a 1 point game. I got to give them a little bit of credit on that. Granted, it's a loss, but it was a lot different than what I expected because I thought the Rams were just going to blow the doors off the Ravens last week. So I think the Ravens do have a better shot of going up against a team like Pittsburgh, just because Pittsburgh has looked suspect the entire year, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. And I just don't see Big Ben coming through in the clutch in this one, just because I think that Ravens defense is going to be ready to go. Just because if they were able to contain that Rams offense to 20 points last week, and Pittsburgh's offense is significantly weaker than the Rams is, I gotta favor them in that one. And then when it comes to the offensive side of the ball, going up against Pittsburgh's defense is going to be a challenge. There's no doubt about that, because despite that KC loss that Pittsburgh suffered just a couple of weeks ago to the Chiefs, that defense has held up relatively well throughout the last month or so. So if Lamar does play in that game, I think they have the edge simply just because I think his presence is that much more significant than having Tyler Huntley in there. So just based off of that assumption, if Lamar does play, I'm going to say the Ravens win this one in a close one, but I'm going to say like 23-20. I think it's just going to be one of those games where it's just going to be a war from beginning to end. And these AFC North battles, they always get competitive. They always get feisty. And I think we'll definitely get to see that on display on Sunday. But I think the Ravens, they get a close win at home. And then, they have at least a decent shot, to get into the playoffs. But, they have to have some things work out in their favor to be able to make that happen. But I got the Ravens winning this one in a close one.